Okay, so we're back with Essa
Hey.
and learning about cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
So we set up your Coinbase account and then we set up your Binance account and I heard you made a trade.
I did. Okay, so I went back into Coinbase and I bought some Ethereum because I just respond to Ethereum. So I bought some Ethereum. I put $40, $40 in, got as much Ethereum as I could. I think it was like, I don't know, I don't remember. And then I went over and it transferred right away, actually, because I
Wow.
used my debit card.
Okay.
And maybe
Interesting.
it's my bank.
Like you linked your debit card or you linked your
I
checking
linked
account?
my debit card,
Oh,
and it
interesting.
came out in 5 minutes.
Hmm.
So I don't know. HSBC might be like a good card to use. And then I went right over to Binance, and I transferred the Ethereum from my wallet, my crypto wallet
Mhm.
at Coinbase, over to Binance, and I used that to buy some Cardano, and I
Nice.
felt like successful.
Why did you pick Cardano?
Well, I was talking to a friend of mine, and then also you were talking a little bit about it, but he was speaking to Cardano as like another, taking kind of the best points of Bitcoin and Ethereum and fusing them together. And what I really responded to about what he said, also he made a bunch of money on it. That
I respond to that.
Yeah, I respond to that. He got in when it was like at 14 cents, and then just like went on and on.
Built it.
Yeah, built it. But that coin is very, it's a secure coin from what he spoke about,
Yeah.
because it's been peer reviewed and there's a lot of like academic foundation to the platform, and which, I guess is,
Yeah. I mean, it's the top, like, it's in the top 10, so it's going to be something.
It's number 7. So.
Ooh.
I know. But like it's interesting because once you start, like it's once you get past the hurdle of like getting in, it's interesting and it's
Yeah.
fun, and so I'm having like, I feel like I'm.
Isn't it
progressing.
interesting too? Like you go to Cardano and you don't really know the crypto space, and then you see these like big names people from like these different universities that do all these
Yes.
peer-reviewed journals, like are an advisor or something.
Yeah.
And you're like, you're an advisor? What?
It's like very comforting,
Yeah.
actually, and it makes you feel like, okay, all right, there's a lot of people with force behind this, and it could be a good project to invest in. Yeah.
Well, we'll see. Well, next week, I guess we'll see
That's right.
what happens.
Yeah.
So I thought we could just go through some terms,
Okay.
because I find that the more that I just know the ideas, I can read like the white paper or I can read about it and just like pick up some more things.
So yeah, I guess maybe my first like question, and I kind of know the answer, but if you could break it down, like what is cryptocurrency?
It's a great question.
Thanks.
So currency, obviously, we know what a currency is. It's just an exchange of values, energy.
Yeah.
So, but the crypto part, the crypto to me always sounded like a burglar, or like a pirate or something.
Which I kind of like. It's kind of fun.
It's a little fun, but you're also like,
Sort of.
why would I put my money in there?
Well, that's true.
It's like a pirate coin, but it actually is short for cryptography.
Okay.
And cryptography is just like a complex mathematical equation that's encoded.
Okay.
So it has like a shield.
Oh.
It's like encoded, so when you look at it, you're not getting exactly what the answer is. It's like
Okay.
encoded in different numbers.
Well, that's interesting. Like a projection field around it.
Yeah.
Kind of. Okay.
Or like, like a bit.ly URL or something
Yeah.
like that. So
Huh.
it just keeps your information safe. But the point of cryptography is that this currency uses cryptography to be the currency.
Oh.
So cryptocurrency.
Okay. So the code is the actual currency.
Yeah, you can think of
Okay.
it that way. So, like, we would look at a dollar and say that's the actual currency, but you can also look at this code
Yeah.
as the same thing.
Interesting.
But it is different because really the code is more so a truth.
Mm.
And that's the point. It's like, so there's this big ledger
Okay.
or a big, I don't know, Word document.
Yeah.
And you're just like writing truths in it. So this cryptography is a truth.
Interesting.
So there's two cryptographies, and this we'll like go into a little bit. I'll help you understand. So there's
Okay.
a public key cryptography
Okay.
and a private key cryptography.
Okay.
So remember when we set up your Coinbase account
Yes.
and we had a private key? Well, we had a
That I
private
had
key
to save.
that you had to save.
Uh-huh.
Yes, but then there was also a public key,
Okay.
and that was it said it when you were setting up your accounts. But the way I remember, like you probably remember when we went to Binance and we wanted to deposit Bitcoin from your Coinbase to your Binance account.
Yeah.
We used that key from your Binance account and we put it in your Coinbase account.
Yes.
Remember? Yeah.
Yes.
So that's your public key.
Okay.
So you can think of a public key like an bank account ID.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if people see it. Like
Okay.
I saw it and I can't really do anything.
Right.
Because a public key, I'm just saying, okay, this is
exists.
Essa's Bitcoin wallet in Binance.
Yeah.
It's not giving away anything. But you also get a private key,
Yeah.
and that makes your account yours.
Oh, I see.
So with a private key, you can actually go into that wallet and unlock your
Oh,
funds.
so you have access.
Exactly.
Okay.
The private
All
key.
right. So the public key identifies the wallet as a wallet.
Yes.
The private key is what opens the wallet.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
Cool.
Exactly.
Alright, that makes sense.
So then you have, we'll just take a second and I'll like edit that. I'm like staring at it. Public key, just a platform, that's my right. It's in the private key. Cool. Blocks and cryptocurrency. Okay. So every time people send their money from one public key to another public key, and that's what you did in
Okay.
Coinbase. You sent your money from one public Coinbase key to a public
Oh,
Binance key.
Okay, that makes sense.
They're both your keys, but they're both public. So a block is created.
Oh.
So I always think it's funny because Bitcoin, like, we needed that word coin at the end
To
of
make us
it
feel comfortable.
to make us feel comfortable. And so, like, people genuinely think of it as a coin.
Yeah.
But I like to think of it as a block.
Okay.
Like, when I think of a Bitcoin, I think of, like, a square.
Yeah. Okay.
And in that square, I would put your public Coinbase key and your public Binance key in that square. Because,
Okay.
and I would consider that, like, one transaction.
Okay.
So these blocks are basically just histories of past transactions. And to make like a full block, so we're not going to just make a block with just that one. So to make a full block, it's like a bundle of transactions.
Okay.
Because basically what happens is these transactions need to get posted on the big ledger,
Yeah.
like the big Word document of all time that has these truths from when it first started.
So it's building something essentially.
Yeah.
It's creating. So all of these individual truths, right? Assertion Bitcoin, assertion Ethereum, but everyone's popping up with, are interconnected in a, like almost like a structure of a building, and you're creating a stable structure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right. So that's what gives the whole entire cryptocurrency value security.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So that's the point. It's like it's decentralized. So a bank isn't the one keeping this ledger.
Interesting. Yes.
It's decentralized. So the ledger is spread out, but it needs to be updated.
Right.
So you need to constantly like update this ledger that rests in multiple places
Yeah.
on the network, but it still needs to have that transaction history of truths.
Interesting. Yeah.
And so to think about it, like these transactions are happening, right? And to post them on the ledger, to do it for every little transaction, because it doesn't have to go to one spot, because it just doesn't have to go to Bank of America servers.
Right.
It needs to go to all of these other ones. You're not going to do them individually.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to do them in a block. Okay. So essentially the block is just a bundle of transactions, and once those transactions are, you could think of it as verified, then it gets the block. Like, the block is a block, and it gets posted to the ledger.
And when it's posted to the ledger, that's something that remains stable, but then that block is also updated?
Yeah.
Okay. So the blocks that are put in place in the ledger are constantly being built upon.
Built upon, okay. Exactly.
Okay.
That's exactly it. So they're built upon, and you can think of it, so this is how I think of Bitcoin. I don't think of it as coins.
This is, okay, because it's nice to have the visualization behind it.
Yeah. Like, I think of it as, like I literally see rectangles in my head, and in between little rectangles, I see, like, a little dash connecting them.
Yeah.
But I guess you can also think of it if you were doing a building, like the blocks in the building.
Blocks in the building.
Yeah, that, like, build upon each other. So basically, they have to reference what came before it.
Okay.
So you have this bundle of transactions, right? And it's like, it bundled the transactions. But in order to know that those transactions are true, it has to reference something.
Okay.
So if the Coinbase, if, like, it's saying send Bitcoin from S's public key in Coinbase to S's public key in Binance, how do you even know that you had the funds in Coinbase?
Right.
There had to be something that came before it.
Yes.
And, like, we did it a week ago. So we set up your account, and then the week later, we actually transferred it.
Yeah.
So it has to reference the previous whole ledger of history in order to, like, know that that's a truth.
Okay.
So there's a part of that block that references the previous block, which references the previous block, which references the previous block. And those all talk to each other, but that one block just has to reference the previous block.
Okay.
Because the previous block
has all the information.
Is true. Yeah. Because it was verified.
Right.
So we know that Essa a week ago bought that Bitcoin.
Right.
And therefore, like, yes, it's true that she sent it because she had it.
Right. I see.
So that's how I, like, literally picture cryptocurrency in blocks. But we have, like, funny names for them, like coins and
yeah.
But they're essentially numbers. They're, like, big strands of numbers.
Big strands of numbers.
Encrypted data.
Affirm reality or non-reality.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's really interesting.
Exactly. So, basically, because these blocks, they have to, so you make a transaction, right? Let's say they're your first purchase of Bitcoin. So it's going to go, this transaction that you bought is going to go to all of these nodes in the network. And a node is just, you could think of it as a computer.
Okay.
It's just like something that computes.
Yeah.
So, like, these mining pools have, like, crazy technology, but it's just something that computes. So these nodes, it's going to all of them, right? And all of these computers, we'll just call them computers.
Okay.
All of these computers have to solve this, like, high mathematical problem in order to essentially win that transaction. So when you bought that Bitcoin, all of these computers are trying to win it.
Oh, to do it first.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the higher power you have, like, the better, like, computing source, the more likely you're gonna win. And
so is that what a miner?
Yeah, that's what a miner does. Okay. So miners. So a miner is, like, competing for your transaction.
That's interesting. Okay.
And why would it compete for your transaction?
There's a return on that because there's a miner fee.
Exactly.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, oh, what's that? Okay.
That's what I find so interesting about this, is that it's so human-centered. It's like, okay, you have this thing that works, but why would people do it?
Right.
There's an incentive.
There's an incentive.
So you have these, like, all of these nodes, like, miners have nodes. So a miner has a node.
Yeah.
So all of these miners are trying to win your transaction, right? And they're doing this by basically, so your transaction has an encrypted code of data. So it's trying to guess that code.
So it's running through all of the...
Like, let's say your number strand is like 16 numbers. So these computers are just running through every possible combination of those, like, 16 numbers.
Until it snaps into one.
Until it snaps into one, exactly.
And then that
I like that, like a snap.
Yeah, because I think of it as, like, it stops, and it's rolling, and then
it's like,
stop,
ding,
snap.
ding,
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah. So, like, if you think about how many numbers you have to go through to, like, reach that, you know. So then, okay, bing, 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 like, we got the number. That one's my transaction, right? So they're going to get a return on that transaction. That's why you paid a fee.
Yeah.
So you get a bundle of these transactions, right? So you get a bundle of those bing, bing, bings, and they create the block. And then because you're kind of like awarded, it's like you're winning it.
Okay.
And to win it, you get to do something really special, and you get to write it into the blockchain.
Oh, into
so writing it
ledger.
Into the public ledger. So when you write it into the blockchain, that's when you get your return. But that's also when this block is updated across all of the computers because it's written into the main ledger.
Okay.
So this process is supposed to really deter any fraudulent behavior because it's hard to get.
Yeah.
So to try to, like, let's say you were trying to scan the system, right? You would have to have a super high-powered computing machine.
Yeah.
Like, you would have to invest. These mining pools, like, they come out of China. They just have, like, the best technology, the best coders. Like, they're trying to make money.
Yeah.
So they have an incentive to make money, so they're going to, like, you know, really put a lot of effort into it. So it's hard to be a fraud.
Yeah.
It's hard to scam the network. And that's the whole point. It's like, it's a deterrent from scanning it. And then also, it's going, so you write into the ledger, so it's going into, like, all of the public, it's updating across, you know, all of the nodes, because it's just one ledger.
Yeah.
And once it's in there, it's in there.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, like, let's say you break into one computer, like, let's say you, like, know the password or, like, some network password, you're not going to update it across everything.
Because there's a security, like,
Yeah.
And then everything is built upon, like, everything it's dependent on the previous transaction. So you can't just, like, hack a piece.
Exactly.
That's the whole point, is, like, it's very much, like, interconnected.
Exactly.
So it's almost impossible.
Yeah.
You'd have to, like, dismantle the entire thing in order to really infiltrate, which you can.
Yeah. And, like, that's the thing, too. Like, let's say a hacker even got to that point where they can disrupt this one block being built. They're only going to get to disrupt that block. Mm-hmm. They're not going to get to disrupt the past 5 years of it.
Yeah.
They're just going to get that. Because what Bitcoin builds on each other. It's blocks. It's not like, so if you had, like, a bank account, right, and you had $20, it's like, okay, I take away that $20. That's one transaction. I take away that $20. I take away that $20. Like, I take away $1, $1. This one isn't saying that. This one is saying it's not like building upon, it is building upon the last. It's kind of hard to explain. It's not like updating that. It's like it's its own truth.
Okay.
It's like the truth that you have $19 is a truth.
Yeah.
We know that it's a truth because you had 20 and you took away 1.
Yeah.
But the truth isn't that you had 20 and took away 1. The truth is that you had 19.
Right.
But we know that that's true because of the past history.
Right.
So with a bank, the truth would be that you started out with 20 and now you have 19 because you took away 1. Whereas this says, no, the truth is that you have 19. But we know this because of this.
Interesting. So it really speaks to, like, what is happening now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, like, an accurate depiction of reality.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you can never go back. Everything, like, even if you accidentally bought a coin, it's never like, oh, let's just take that away.
Yeah.
It's like, no. It's never like return. It's like, oh, I'm sending Essa back that coin.
Right.
It's just another transaction.
It's a new transaction in the chain.
Exactly.
That's fascinating.
Isn't
it's
it?
like very much mimics, like, life.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's like nothing can ever be erased.
Nothing can be erased. There's a specific impression that occurs every time there's an action being done.
Mm-hmm.
There's a consequence for the action, and then you can only move forward. You can't go backward.
Exactly.
It's really cool. Okay.
So, a good term to know, and like what we just talked about is called proof of work.
Okay.
So, Bitcoin is the one that like came on the market with proof of work, and that's why it was kind of like the start in all of this.
Yeah.
Because it solved a problem that people weren't able to solve.
Okay.
And proof of work is basically saying, it's basically how it can be distributed and be secure.
Okay.
So it's the same process we talked about, where everyone's competing to win your transactions. You have multiple people competing. It's like a competitive market.
Yeah.
And when like you have a competitive market, you're gonna get things done. You know, you have an incentive.
Yeah.
So, but to win that, you have to do the work.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the point. Like, you need to do the work. You need a computer that does the work. You have to pay for the electricity that does the work. So then when you win, it's like you win it because of your proof of work. It's like, look at this number that I solved.
Yeah.
Like, I solved this algorithm. You're proving your work.
Wow.
And then you get an incentive for it.
Okay.
So that's how you can run in a decentralized system. Like, basically any computer can solve it. But
it's going to be a computer with a lot of power that would solve it the fastest, so it would consistently win.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it has nothing to do with location, like geographic location either, or does it?
You can argue that, because have you ever been in a place where like has really bad Wi-Fi?
Oh, that's true.
You know, so like you really need to like optimize this. That's why these like huge.
So like my chain could be solved by someone in Switzerland, or you know.
Yeah.
India, or or New York.
Because it doesn't. Yeah, you're right. You're right in the sense it doesn't matter location.
Okay.
Like location is taken out of this situation because.
So really, anyone who can have access to a computer and generate enough power anywhere in the world could potentially start to accumulate money or energy from this process. So,
yeah, that actually brings up a really good point that I didn't even think of. So, like in a bank, you are ESSA from New York.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you're ESSA from New York using dollars. And so you're going to be in like a very specific pool.
Yeah.
Or even if you were to contact someone from Switzerland, you're still ESSA from New York using dollars. Here, you are an encrypted number because everyone's using the same currency. You're an encrypted number.
Yeah.
That's it. So and the only way you know that that's yours is because you have a private key.
Yeah.
You're not ESSA from New York using dollars.
So you can there's a freedom that comes with that, and then there's also like the implication is like an equal playing field.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's really cool.
So yeah, it's like a very globalized system. Okay, so you have this computer, it's running number sequences to correctly guess it. You win it, you get the privilege of writing it into the immutable blockchain.
So cool.
Which just means it can't be changed, and you get a little incentive.
Yeah.
Right. But there's a couple issues to this. So like Bitcoin came up with this, and it's like solves that problem. We know how to make a decentralized system work, but it has its downfalls. So first of all, it takes a lot of computing power, like you said. Like, you're not only did the winner have to put all that electricity into it, but imagine all the other people trying to compete.
Yeah.
So you have that collective use of energy, and the ones that didn't get it fall flat. So it's just kind of like a waste of energy. You know, like it's really like as cryptocurrency picks up, the amount of money that's being put into energy use is a lot.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So if you can find a way to use a more sustainable form of energy to run the computer, then you're ahead.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's the second part is the issue with it. So, you know, like we get a lot of our electronics from China, like we get a lot of that stuff from China. So what happened in China was they were coming up with these high computational machines, and they, they have that access, although, like, we have a lot of access, but it's because we buy it from them most of the time.
Interesting. Yeah.
Or we, like, farm it out, like, things like that. So they're keeping it for themselves because it's a high return.
Right.
So 70% of the Bitcoin miners are localized in China.
How interesting.
Mm-hmm.
That's very interesting.
So what happened was, and this is another psychology part that I love.
Yeah.
So you had all of these, like, Chinese miners, like, trying to win Bitcoins, and they realized that they were better together, which is, like, a huge human component.
Absolutely.
So they came together and they made these mining pools.
Super. Oh, interesting.
So that's why they're called mining pools.
So they all work together and they share whatever comes in.
So there's, like, 3 main
Wow.
mining pools in China of just, like, people coming together, miners, and, and they're the ones doing the mining.
Yeah.
So, like, yes, all over the world you can be a miner, but can you really compete
with that?
No, you're better together.
Yeah.
And you're better with the best technology, and you're better, they've been doing this since the start, so they have a leg up.
How interesting.
But the problem with that is, like, okay, we have a decentralized system, that's the whole point. But
I see.
we have a centralized mining system.
Yeah.
And the issue with that is, well, what if they decided to come together? What if those 3 main big mining pools said, hey, we're going to become one?
We're going to monopolize the mining.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then
And
you have the problem that you're trying to actually solve.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's obviously not good.
Yeah.
So you have, it's decentralized, and they're the ones that write it into history. They're the ones that write the ledger.
Yeah.
So, like, yes, they're miners, yes, they're making a lot of incentives from the Bitcoin, but they're writing the truths. So if they wanted to manipulate it, like, let's say they came together, right? It's not just that's power. It's not, now they have the power, if they really wanted to manipulate it.
Oh.
Whereas before, you didn't, because you were just
decentralized. So what do you see as a solution?
So that's, like, that's what's booming on the network right now. It's like everyone's trying to come up with a solution to this.
Huh.
So the solution they came up with is proof of stake.
Proof of stake.
So before we had proof of work, now we have proof of stake.
Okay.
So proof of stake is saying, okay, well, you're this Bitcoin owner, right? And you own so much Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Like, you own...
I do. So much.
You just have so much Bitcoin, and you don't want to lose it. You don't want anything to happen to Bitcoin because you own a lot.
You own a lot.
You have a lot at stake.
I see. So if the miners have a lot at stake, or if they prove that they have a lot at... I'll let you finish.
Yeah.
Okay.
Essentially, but it kind of takes away the mining part a little bit. So, like, you're still a miner, because a miner is just, like, getting these transactions, doing the numbers, but you're not, like, mining for a profit.
Right.
You're mining because you don't want to lose what you have.
I see.
You have a lot at stake. So
okay.
if, and so let's say you own a lot of Bitcoin, you sign up to be a miner, you're going to sign up to be a miner because you want to preserve the network.
Okay.
So it's
So
kind
it's
of
a
like,
privilege to be a miner.
Yeah.
Okay.
but you don't get an incentive with proof of stake. Your incentive is to not lose what you have.
You're investing in the currency itself.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly. So it's like, well, I want this currency to succeed because I own it.
Yeah.
And if I lost it, or if anything happened to it, that would suck.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of stake, and it's it's kind of like trick. To me, it sounds like a trick. Like, well, I didn't even want to be a miner, but
Yeah.
because I have all of this Bitcoin,
now I have to. So do they remove the incentive altogether now, or so there's no there's no fee?
There's no.
And when did that happen?
Yeah, so it's still being. I mean, people are testing it out, but
Okay.
see, that's the human. There's another human component of it. That's what I love, like, learning about this back end stuff, because it's not taking off. And it's not taking off because it's harder to, I guess, like, push people into doing something for something they already have,
Right.
rather than for something that they could gain.
Want. Well, yeah, because it's immediate gratification versus, oh, here's a long-term security versus here's a short-term security of, like, you get a payback right away.
And who are the people? The people, like, going out, the people that are, like, hungry to mine, aren't really the people, well, originally weren't the people that were holding a bunch of currency.
Right.
The people that were hungry wanted this.
Yeah.
So they were like,
there's an opportunity for me
Yeah.
to, have a return on this.
And now we're saying, oh, you big Bitcoin person, like, buy yourself a really expensive machine
And
so that you don't lose what you
right.
have.
Oh, okay. That's
So it's like a
issue.
reverse incentive, and that's why it hasn't taken off
That
yet.
makes sense.
So there's a lot of solutions that are on the market that work. Like, you're like, okay, this is a solution, but you add the human component of it, and it either works or it doesn't. And that's the thing with these coins. It's like, you could be a genius and think of a really good solution, but you have a decentralized system. So you have to go with what humans are going to participate in.
Could it be possible that a coin would be created that would only be able to be mined by, like, let's say, like, is there any way to encode a coin with the inability to be mined consistently in one location? Like, say, like, you could, like, code in, like, okay, if it's been mined in China, it can't be mined in China every single time. Like, it has to be mined in different locations. You know what I mean? Like, build that into the actual code. Maybe that's the next coin.
I think you should probably
Shells.
do a startup. Well, yeah, so something like that has
But that would
been,
make sense, right?
So the another part of proof of stake is that, so you're putting, first of all, to be a miner, you have to put a deposit down.
Okay.
And that's essentially what you own.
Yeah.
That's how you have a lot of stake because you're putting a deposit down. And if you were to cause any fraudulent behavior, your deposit would basically just be taken away. Like, it would just chuck at it, and you wouldn't be given as much transactions because we don't trust you as much.
Right.
So it's that other layer
Obviously
of,
building
like,
the trust.
building the trust, but the point is it's just not working.
How interesting. So, like, that's fascinating.
Because you have to go with, like, you had these hungry miners going out and, like, getting their Bitcoin, and now it's the opposite.
Well,
so.
yeah, and then it kind of takes away from the idea that there's enough for everyone, which is what I feel like this currency is kind of, like, built on that there's enough resources for everyone. There can be, like, a more equal distribution of the world's resources in terms of, like a currency that you can trade for things that you need and tangible earth. But it would make sense to me that the next coin will be something that builds.
Yeah.
Not that I know much, but...
No, yeah, I mean,
just
that's the next step. It's scaling.
Yeah.
So it's like,
okay,
well, how are we going to get everyone involved in this? How is it going to work if everyone's involved? The population's growing, so how is this going to work?
Yeah.
And, like, things kind of take a while. Like, sometimes it takes a while to get your Bitcoin.
It does.
I mean, so... And, like, what if you needed to trade right then and there? Like, there are these problems. These problems exist.
Yeah.
And that's why that's a lot of reason why people think it's a bubble, because it's not a hard and proof system. It has to be optimized. There has to be new solutions. So, yes, something's going to take over. A technology piece is going to take over that Bitcoin is lacking, or that Ethereum is lacking.
Yeah.
Which is a great segue into Ethereum.
Okay. Cool.
Okay, so Ethereum... So, Bitcoin is doing its thing, it came up, and it's basically, like, the way I like to think of Bitcoin is, like, you have the blocks, and it's just, like, truth into the network. And then Ethereum came along and said, well, we could do more.
Okay.
We can do something because we're not dealing with this paper money. Like,
right.
a $5 bill is a truth.
Right.
But... it's not a computer, so it can't do anything. It's just a truth.
Yeah.
And that's what Bitcoin is.
Okay.
But Ethereum says, well, we're not just this, like, hard asset. We're computing power.
Yeah.
So we can do more.
Okay, so there's like a okay.
Yeah, so it adds
There's affect to the energy.
yes,
Okay.
it adds that like extra layer into its coin, and that's why when it came that's why people are really bullish about Ethereum. I just used the
like
term.
Ethereum.
You like Ethereum,
I
right?
do.
Yeah.
I like Ethereum. I don't know why. It feels like it appeals to me.
Because it has this like sense that it's very
It's
it's
more
like next level.
flexible. It feels more flexible to me.
Yeah, and it is.
Yeah.
I mean, you picked up on it. Like, it feels more flexible. It is more flexible because it's not just like truth.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I'm a computing language and I could do multiple things. So the way it does that, and this is how I picture Ethereum.
Okay.
So I picture Bitcoin's like a rectangle with like
They feel very heavy to me. But like, I mean, all of these coins like have their own energetic properties because they're a series.
It does feel heavy. You're right.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Bitcoin. Heavy.
Yeah, heavy. Like, you have these, like, blocks.
Which is why it feels solid, and like people would like you want to grow a base of Bitcoin because it's stable, it's solid, it's the thing. You know, it's like the basement of the house.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's also something people recognize. Like, I can say that this block, you can look at it like I said, a $5 bill.
Yeah.
It's like something that we can like process.
A reference.
Like, okay, currency.
Yeah.
But this type of currency that does something is hard to take in.
Exciting.
That's what finds it exciting.
I find it exciting, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it is exciting. And so it was developed in 2013.
Okay.
And basically the creator, Vitalik Buterin, made these things. So I pictured it as like a rectangle. And normally you would just have like your numbers, which are your transactions.
Yeah.
But then there's something called a smart contract.
Okay.
So I picture a rectangle and then like a, you know what a declaration, like the Declaration of Independence, what that looks like.
Yeah, the writing.
Yeah, like
I picture a wave too. There's some kind of like wavy nature
yeah,
about
it's like a wavy contract inside the rectangle.
I feel that.
And it's like right at the center. And it does something to the rest of the rectangle.
Interesting.
That's how I picture it in my head.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's important to have a visual concept of what these are because they're just names, but they hold it holds energy. It's energy.
Yeah, they're just ideas.
They're just ideas
that have been put into action. Yeah. So like,
what does the idea look like? Yeah.
So I got like that foldy paper in the middle, and that's the smart contract.
Interesting.
And what the smart contract does is, so it uses functional code.
Okay.
So functional code, and there's so many ways to do it, but it's similar to like a JavaScript or Python. Okay. So what it does is it doesn't just say this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened. It gives a condition.
Oh.
So it says, if this happens, do this. And if it doesn't happen, do this. And if this happens, but it's under this condition, then do this.
So it's like a logic sentence.
Yeah. So it finally can do
like
more.
a more complex logic sentence.
It can do more. It's like more of a brain than it is just like
this happened.
Yeah.
And then this happened.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like thinking.
Wow,
almost.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So it's like it's adaptable.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So like when it goes to be solved, it has to go through all of those conditions, whatever it is, like whatever so people build things off of Ethereum because it's easy to build something off of a condition. Like if this happens,
there's a lot of different branches,
a lot of different branches, a lot of ways you can take it, and it's kind of like up to you how you want to do it. So every time it goes through those conditions, it's called a loop.
Okay.
So it has looping power.
Looping power. And so with, like, as a currency and as, like, with value, what is the value of that versus the value of Bitcoin, like, in action? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So that's the tricky part about Ethereum is, like, so you have this looping power, and it might say, okay, so for ESAs, like, if ESA puts in 100 Ethereum coins, and let's say you're buying a Cardano, if ESA puts in 100 Ethereum coins, then send her 1,200 Cardano. If Ethereum is this price, then send her this. Like, there could be that's a terrible example, but I'm just, like, the idea of it.
It's more of, like, a longer chain of...
chain.
Events.
And the point of that, but, like, you don't really know what that means. Like,
right.
what does 140 Cardanos mean to you?
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering, like, with the Ethereum. So the Ethereum, like, if you're bringing it to... like a sketch of reality, like a descriptive of like what's happening. Like Bitcoin tells you what is happening and what has happened.
Mm-hmm.
Ethereum tells you what has happened, could have happened,
might happen,
if
under certain condition will happen.
Yeah, all in one moment. Okay.
Whether like how the conditions match up.
Okay.
So
and then whatever manifests is what is printed into the ledger.
Yes.
Okay.
So it uses the same thing, proof of work. Okay. So you buy like Ethereum, and actually Ethereum is that template of that technology template.
Okay.
So it's really something that like you're just filling in conditions. So that's why a company that wants to build their company a cryptocurrency, it's easy to use Ethereum because it's like a template.
Okay.
And they can like build upon it. So actually, Ethereum's currency is an ether.
Oh.
Whereas Bitcoin is a Bitcoin, is a Bitcoin. Always. But Ethereum is a technology, and you're buying an ether.
Ooh, cool. Okay.
So, like, you can have a platform called something, and you might call it, like, the cryptocurrency of that platform the same thing, but it's not. Like, you'll have, like I said, an Ethereum, and then you'll have an ether. So it's different. And that's why it's
a function of Ethereum. Or is it
product? Ethereum is, product. So Ethereum is the function.
Okay.
And then you have a product.
Okay.
So that's the coin.
Okay.
And like, but people have a hard time with that because it's like, okay, what is the product hold?
What does it mean?
Yeah. It's that one we can go deeper.
It's really abstract.
It's abstract. Like, it's hard to ground. Like, so that's why a lot of people are like, no, I'm not going to invest in cryptocurrencies because what does 1,000 Cardano mean to me? I actually don't think Cardano was built off of Ethereum, but something else might be. Oh, it is?
I don't know.
Oh.
I don't know.
It might be.
I know that you can buy it with Ethereum and you can buy it with US dollars actually on Binance.
Can you buy it with Bitcoin?
I believe you can. I don't know.
You might be able to.
Okay. So
actually, I think Cardano, like, that's why Cardano is probably in the top 10 because, so basically all of these coins that come out are either trying to solve Bitcoin's problem.
Yes.
Or they go off of Ethereum's network.
Okay.
So you have, like, two really things that you're going to do. And Ethereum started out by solving Bitcoin's problem. Like, Bitcoin had a problem where it couldn't really do anything.
Right.
So Ethereum solved that, and that's why Ethereum, like, became so huge because it's like, well, I'm not just something off of Bitcoin. I'm my own thing now.
Right.
Because I have this thing called a smart contract.
Yeah. And looping power.
But the things that build off of Ethereum pretty much do the same thing, but they're just fixing Ethereum.
Okay.
And then there's issues with Ethereum.
Yeah. Okay.
So the issues are, so like you're still using proof of work. The same thing where the miners are getting the incentive. But now you're not just going through trying to guess all of this like computational numbers. You're not just trying to guess the cryptography. You have to go through all of those loops.
Yeah.
And they can, I mean, depending on the product you have, you can write loops that are, endless, essentially.
Wow.
And so it's taking that much more energy. So we just talked about the energy issue before.
With Bitcoin.
And now we have this thing that has to run through all of these contracts.
So even more energy. Okay.
Yeah, so it's very wasteful.
Hmm.
And the other part of that is that the whole thing with, well, what do these products of this technology mean?
Yeah. And
so a couple days ago, actually, last week, it ended up being fake news, but so we can grasp in our... It did. I actually, it was a huge thing, and then it ended up not happening, so it was a real experience for me of fake news.
Yeah.
So the SEC, I'm not an accountant, I barely know any terms, but the SEC... There's this whole thing with Ethereum that says, well, you're not a currency.
Oh, that's right. You were saying that.
Yeah, because it's saying, because we think of a currency
As
in one way.
Yeah.
We think of it as truth. And it doesn't hold anything. Like, a dollar doesn't hold anything. It just holds value. It doesn't do anything. So the point of Ethereum, we say, let's say Cardano, like, built upon Ethereum's network.
Yeah.
If you were to put in money, you were to put in your Ether to invest in Cardano, we say that's not, your Cardano coins aren't a currency. They are a security, but you're basically just investing in a platform or a process or a project that you believe in. And that's like, that's essentially like the definition of a security.
Yeah.
So there is this like new thing and nobody understands it because it's like, well, I'm not just investing my money into this project because I'm getting Cardano coins.
Right. I'm getting a coin. Something. Yeah.
But everyone's like, okay, but then what does that mean? You're just investing. Like, who cares if you get Cardano coins? You're doing the same thing as a security would do.
Well, it's interesting because you think about, like, all right, you think about a child with $1, right? A child holds $1. I don't know if this is really stupid.
No, I'm ready
but
for
like,
it.
okay, a child holds $1. So yeah, $1 has, $1 is a physical paper, and it has a texture, and it has, it's a truth right there. It holds value. But the value of $5 to a child who has no idea what $5 means, you fold up the dollar, you make a paper airplane, you throw it across the room, it has a function. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, wow, I love that.
But, like, and that's kind of like, I feel like that's what Ethereum's doing in, like, a, much more
in, like, a mental
way.
state, yeah.
Exactly, but, like, it's, or the dollar can be rolled up into, like, something to snort coke with, but I'm saying, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
or like, you can a 5-year-old can go to a store and they might say like, oh, you can't buy anything, you're too young, so the only way your $5 is value is if you give it to your mom, who buys you something. Yeah.
Yeah,
like
but to the 5-year-old, like, the dollar doesn't have, who knows nothing about money, doesn't have any physical value. It just has the value of like what it is and what it can do. Oh, I can bend it. I can make it into a snake. I can, you know what I'm saying though?
Yeah.
And it's a toy.
Yeah.
And it has like, it can fly across the room.
Mm-hmm. So it's like, I can rip it off for this.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly, for a piece of paper.
Yeah. What?
Yeah. But then if you look at it, like, you get the dollar and you use it for something else. You use it to, like, what do you need $1 for? Like, what if you need a piece of paper to write something down on? Mm-hmm. You use $1 that has a different function. So, you know what I'm saying? Like,
like different functions. Exactly, because that's a lot of people that don't want to invest in these coins or tokens. It's like, what the hell does like that mean?
What does it mean? Yeah.
Like, okay, so that's why it's so easy. Like, that's why it's so easy to create like a fake company. And you remember we saw that one last time where they didn't even have a website?
Yeah.
It's because it's like, okay, in the code of Ethereum, I could easily say, if Essa gives me 100 Ethereum coins, send her back 20 Brielle coins.
Right.
And like, it'll happen. You'll get 20 Brielle coins, but like,
what do those mean?
No one knows what that means. And so like the trading's going on where, word catches on that Brielle coins are really in right now and they're going to be big.
Yeah.
So maybe a lot of people buy them and maybe it's high return on investment, but like,
what does it mean? Yeah.
So they can be mean. So if we really like adopt this as a society, a global society, they might mean something. And maybe right now we're just too closed-minded and not open enough to accept them.
Yeah.
But from going off from where, and you have, that's the whole thing with a public ledger, you have to go from where you started.
Yeah.
And from going where we started, these mean nothing.
Yeah.
So.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
That's like the Buddhist concept of emptiness. It's like there's nothing that, it's like it's built off of, it's dependently arising.
I'm actually really interested in what's the Buddha concept of emptiness.
Emptiness, so like, this is from my understanding from like, whatever. I understand. I'm not a practicing Buddhist. But from what I understand, when we think about like, so there's no reason, right? We don't think about an origin point. there's no point. There's no reason to think about the start of something, the point of origin. We just work from where we are, right? And where we are, like, because we can go infinitely to the point of origin, and it's infinity is a reality. So we start with where we are, and if we think, okay, there's no point of origin, then everything that depends on the next thing is grounded in emptiness. So the whole thing's empty, but it's dependently arising upon the previous thing that's appearing.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so, like, the mirage of, like, this table or whatever, the material reality of this table is an experience that occurs because, you have the creation of whatever this material is, and then you have the process of making the table, but that whole process to get to this table happened over hundreds of thousands of years.
True.
And so it's just like a tracing of moments that depend on the previous moment, and we're not questioning the validity of the table anymore because it's here and we're like putting our hands on it. But maybe like 5,000 years ago, this is like, what? No concept of the table, and perhaps that's what cryptocurrency is.
I like that.
I don't know. I'm just like,
because it's like
off, but
it's like, yeah, these coins, like, no one conceived of them before, but they are building off something, but they're not because they don't hold any value.
They don't hold any value except the value that we give them.
Yeah.
And that's kind of true of anything. And it's like, all right, well, we'll assign value to these processors or these concepts. And what's to say it has more value or less value than a US dollar?
Yeah.
If you can buy a sandwich with a Bitcoin, then that's valuable.
And that's what I learned about researching these cryptocurrencies is I think the value that these currencies hold is basically how much they incentivize people. Because the coins that have been successful have this like background of incentivization. I don't even know if that's a word, but like they incentivize people
to do something,
to interact with, to get involved. Like there's like an incentive, and those have been the popular ones. So you've had like these great creations, but if they don't hold incentive for people, then it falls. So that's what,
like a catalyst.
That's what I've kind of like come to my own conclusion about.
So interesting,
right? Yeah. And they could, like, that, I like that you're talking about the energetic concepts, because, like, if you think about it, money is heavy.
Yes.
And Bitcoin might be a little lighter, but it's still pretty heavy.
It's heavy.
So when you're taking something that's so heavy, like you took US dollars and you put them in for Ethereum, you're going from, like, something heavy to something light. It's, like, doesn't feel good.
It does feel interesting. It feels very different.
Yeah.
It feels very, very different.
Well, I guess it's different, yeah. So some people might think that it was like fear, and some people might...
Yeah, I felt excited by that. I felt
that.
like I'm using Ethereum, like, okay, I'm in a different space. And I didn't want to buy Bitcoin, I wanted to buy Ethereum.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, that's what I felt like,
See, I'm a Bitcoin girl.
Okay. Like Ethereum.
But I just think that they have to, like, they're all going to adopt with each other, because, I mean, what Ethereum took from Bitcoin was proof of work.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's the thing, it's just constant evolution.
Yeah.
And it's a constant process, and what's exciting now is if we're at this point, I mean, I feel like if you keep tracing it, you can kind of see, like, you'll be able to identify what might be a good coin to work with, or what might be something to invest in, because, and it will fluctuate, and that's kind of the fun thing, is that it's a current, and you're just riding the current of currency.
Yeah, I mean, like when Bitcoin first started, nobody was like, oh, the next big thing's going to be Ethereum.
Yeah.
It just kind of like happened. I'd just go like quickly into the history, because I think that like understanding how Bitcoin got started, and then you can see like the loftiness of how it got started, almost makes, like when people are so scared about these new coins, I mean, you have a right to be scared, but how Bitcoin got started wasn't anything concrete.
Oh, so how did Bitcoin get started?
So it actually started in 1998.
Okay.
And Well,
Really?
blockchain technology started in 1998.
Wow, I
Yeah.
had no idea about that. That's cool. Okay.
So it was just on like message boards and like the deep web, people
Yeah.
talking, like chat rooms, like developers who just like to have fun, and they were just going through these concepts, like these just different concepts of like cryptography and like having it value, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So it was just like since 1998, just like floating, and then in 2009. This person, so this alias called Satoshi Nakamoto,
Okay.
and we don't know if that's a guy, we don't know if that's a girl, we don't know if that's a group of people,
Wow.
published a white paper, and it kind of,
Well, I'm getting chills, but keep going.
yeah, it made it like realize, so like everything that was talked about in like chat rooms, just like two people having a conversation, it was like realized in a structured way in this white paper. And so this is something that you can actually like download. You can download the white paper. You can like follow the directions, and you could set
Wow.
up. So it finally has a structure. It's not just like floating ideas on the web.
Wow.
And it's published. So 2009, developers start playing with it. Like they get into it. Like the very early adopters are going for it. And we don't know who Satoshi Nakamoto is, but I'm sure he was going for it too. And I mean, a deeper conversation, he had a lot more into the code than what's in it now. So he kind of, I say he,
Ooh.
it might be a girl.
Well, I'm like really.
Whoever had this really big vision of what they wanted it to be. But it ended up, becoming what it is today.
Yeah.
So
That's not to say that
he, like,
there's some other
prophesized
level
something.
of something else. Yeah.
Yeah. So 2009 that happened. People are playing around with it, whatever. 2013 hits. The price skyrockets to 1,000.
Why does it do that?
Just the adoption level, like something in the current of people and the idea catching on just spikes. And so people that joined in 2013 consider themselves to be late adopters.
Wow.
I mentioned this before.
Yeah, that's what you said. That's so
Because they're
funny.
like, when I came on late
2009.
in 2013, it's like, you bought it for 1,000, you didn't come on late,
Yes.
whatever. So they come on in 2013, and they kind of jump on the train. So they're working with Bitcoin, they see Bitcoin's issues, so they're already trying to solve the problems in 2013,
Wow.
which they did. Like, a lot of Bitcoin is, taken further than it was. So if you think about how it started, it's just so interesting.
So interesting.
And it's also interesting, like, the mystery of it, because we don't know who this person is. We don't know why they did it.
Yeah.
They're not trying to get famous, obviously, because they use
well,
an
I
alias.
feel like it would be kind of severe
Mm-hmm.
thing to put your name to, and you could get,
Yeah.
like, people might not enjoy governments or whoever has a stake in controlling or keeping, resource power.
Yeah.
Would not appreciate.
They would not.
Not at all. They would not like that.
Some people would not be very
No, they wouldn't be very happy.
Especially because, and this is the one thing to know, so Satoshi Nakamoto is rumored to hold something like 6 million Bitcoins or something. So if this person, group of people, I don't know who, alien, decided to sell all their Bitcoin, they would flood the market and it would drop in a second.
Whoa,
Yeah.
that's really interesting.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's possible, but not likely, right?
Who knows? I mean, I like to prophesize who Satoshi Nakamoto is.
So cool.
Like,
I
I
got,
see a
like,
lot of images in my head.
Chills all over when you were talking about it because it's just so.
Like 1998.
It feels. It just feels like a vision for a new world that's like really, like, utopian in a sense, and maybe that's super innocent and naive of me to say, but I just feel like there's such a like positive ideal behind the whole entire project.
Yeah, and like you just said, it's so like naive of you to say, but Satoshi Nakamoto in 2009 took ideas from chat rooms
Yeah.
and published a white paper.
Yeah. It would be fun to read that one.
Right? Like, oh, reading my papers.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, it's innocent itself. So we're just going to lastly go through where the market is today. Now, so we're basically in a gold rush.
Yeah.
Which was similar to what people saw in 2013. So like I said, 2013, you know, it hits 1,000, people are in it. So like before, it was just kind of people who wanted to play for the innocentness of the technology. Now people are in it, or maybe they had a bigger idea in their head. But so we're in this like gold rush. So like I said, like there's so many things that can make. I like to think of it as a gold rush rather than a bubble. I don't like that term.
No, that's
I don't like to think of it popping because I don't think it'll ever pop. I think like we talked about before, it'll transform.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like California has gold. Everyone's roaring across the country. So it's just like a good idea. Like I don't want to deter anybody from investing because I think there's opportunity, but to know what state you're in.
Yeah, that's important.
You know, like you're in a gold rush.
Yeah.
So you're going to have a high competition. Things are going to break. There's going to be hardship.
Yeah.
To get to a different point.
State. Yeah.
Yeah. And the good thing about bubbles or gold rushes is that when they transform or pop, whatever, you're going to get it's going to kind of like trim the fat. So you're going to get all of those people who are inauthentic, just trying to make money, not understanding it or really trying to up level it, which I think a lot of the investors, like you said about Cardano, like it's you're one that wants to invest in something to build.
Yeah.
So it's just going to kind of trim the fat on the industry and yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. I feel like, and if like the trend is not, it's not going to disappear. That's the whole point. Is like there's trillions of dollars, right, invested in this entire network, and so, I mean, even if your stuff drops, right, the best way to counter that is just to stay where you are and to stay in because it will rise again. That's the nature of the market. It's the yin and the yang. It's like it goes up, it goes down. It's day and then it's night, and then it's, you know, like it's polarity, and that's just what happens. And even with the code itself, it's like truth, not truth. Like it's just a duality that you have to kind of like work with and play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like my recommendation is just like anything, find someone that you look up to in what you're doing. Like somebody that knows a little more than you or you feel like is a little more stable in their predictions or has some type of insight that you don't have. Like follow them. Yeah. Yeah. And those are the people. Like I personally love Jackson Palmer. Okay. And he actually invented a coin as a joke.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And there's like $1 million or something invested in it, and he doesn't even have any investments in it.
That's so funny. That's so funny.
He's just like a genuine person that's like interested in the technology and so much more. But yeah, like he's somebody that I follow. Yeah. So, you know, it's a gold rush. There's a lot of opportunities. But know the state, know you're getting yourself into, and capitalize on this time in knowledge and in currency. Yeah,
that's really, And I feel like we don't even know what this currency can do, which is the exciting thing. It's like we don't even know what it might be used for. That's really incredible.
And that's what, honestly, like, that's what I love about it. Yeah. It's like the whole psychology behind it. Yeah. You think it's its own thing. It's not.
It's not.
It's powered by us.
It's really wild.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, I think next week we're going to invest in some more coins. We're gonna do research on coins.
Yes. Okay. Yes. We're gonna do research, and then some of those really altcoins.
Yes. Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Cool.
Cool.